have been a CA and I've been an associate and I've also owned my own clinic, and I've seen how people have treated their team over the course of years, and I feel like there's a better way.
Hey, and welcome to the Dominate Healthcare Podcast, because we have to dominate. We can't just participate, as we say. I'm really excited to have Dr. Bri Gallagher. Welcome, Dr. Bri.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So as we were getting ready for this May 3rd and 4th event and trying to really figure out exactly who do we want to present there. It's going to be a really important event there here in Orlando, particularly because there's a lot of students there. So there's going to be many, many doctors and their staff, but there's already over 50 students registered here, many months out still until the event occurs. And so why did I want you to speak specifically? I wanted to jump on that and then kind of ask a couple questions here. So when I got out of school, when you first get started, you're really drawn to like these men and even the women who have, created a successful practice, maybe talking about how much money they're making or all the people they're helping. But as you actually mature and have a little life experience, you realize the people that you really respect and admire are women like you. So you have, to me, it's like you have it all. And I'm sure it doesn't feel like that way to you all the time necessarily. But here you are, you've got an incredibly successful practice. You've opened up several others. You've opened up 7 practices. You have multiple children. We'll talk about that in a moment. So you're a full-on soccer mom, and you're traveling the country with them. You've got this incredible husband. I'm a big fan of Dr. John, who's a chiropractor, your partner in crime, life, family, and practice. And I'm sure you're managing that too, because I imagine he has a lot of guns and likes to hunt and likes to buy things, so you've got to manage that. So you're doing all this so successfully. So I'm as or more excited these days as to having somebody like you speak and pour into the students and pour into the doctors and educate us and how you're doing it all. So I'm really excited to have you here and come into the event. So here's my first question is why? So why? What's behind this? Because something has to be driving you, making you passionate to have all of this going on and doing it all so successfully.
Oh, well, there's not just one thing. I was reading something the other day, and it was talking about how the prayers that you prayed years ago, you're living those out now. And so I remember 20 years ago praying for some of the things that I'm seeing now, so I feel like I'm really blessed to be living in some of those prayers. I'm very thankful. But I also feel like it's faithfulness. When it comes to, okay, I prayed these prayers. This is what I'm walking out. How am I being faithful in that and doing that to the best? Our church literally yesterday just did a message on the parable of the 10 minas, and how he went away and said, here, do business on my behalf until I return. And I really feel like that's part of what we're supposed to be doing too, is like God saying, here, I'm giving this to you. What are you going to do with it? And so that's business. That's my kids, my family, my husband. What am I going to do with what you've given me, Lord, that I prayed for 20 years ago or more? And I think the other thing too is John and I are both really big on creating experiences, just living life to its fullest. And so part of the driving factor behind, making sure our kids know the Lord and making sure that they're walking out their faith and making him known, but also go experience this world. And you can't experience that world without flexibility and without finances and being able to do these things because it's expensive. So just to give an example, my kids, Michael, he's big into doing like videography and stuff. And we had the opportunity to go actually be part of the cast of The Chosen. And so we're like, do it. Let's do it. How do we do it? How do we get there? So, just being able to do all of that and experience life to the fullest. That's why.
That's really cool. I love that you brought up the story of the 10 minus or the talents, as they
Mhm.
talk about being left with these important, valuable pieces of whatever the monetary currency was at the time, but looking at that as the different parts of your life. So you have these different components of life. I also call it like rows in the garden. So if we have multiple rows in the garden, we've got some potatoes here and some green beans here and some strawberries here and some cucumbers there. If you don't tend to all of them, then part of that's going to die and
Yeah.
not thrive to its fullest potential. And you do such a great job of tending to all these different rows. Now, what I think is interesting is a lot of people would believe, well, I can only have the one row if I'm going to truly be a good steward of what God has given me here. But somehow you've been faithful enough, you trust God enough and your own resources to have multiple rows. And you're doing it all really well, which we'll get into here a little bit deeper. So what tell us a bit more about what you have going on, because I think many people would be really surprised to hear all that you're doing, and yet you're here still able to smile and be in good health and go into this day positively.
Well, we have a successful practice. I'm very thankful for the team that I have there. There's three of us doctors. I have an office manager who's amazing, three awesome supportive staff. I've got a social media manager, massage therapist, and all part of just an amazing team there. John and I, we've got four kids. We've got a 16, 14, 13, and 10-year-old that are all 100% into soccer and football. So, every night I'm on the road taking kids an hour to practice one way, and weekends are games. What could be in Orlando, could be in Raleigh, North Carolina, or Atlanta. Um, and my kids also go to a classical Christian homeschooling program. So they go 2 days a week there, so they can get some really good biblical background, theology type classes as part of their schooling as well. And then 3 days a week they're at home. So one of the days when they're there, I go and I help out students there in the sciences, and helping those students help to learn biology and elementary science from a biblical Christian creation based background. So,
Yeah, and there's more. You
and
guys
there's
went to
more.
yeah, you guys went to Israel. I know recently. I
We
think
did.
somebody would hear about all that and say, "Well, you must never get to go anywhere or do anything," but you just went to Israel. I know also, as you know, you didn't mention you opened up many other clinics, these other 7 locations, and
Yeah.
you and Dr. John have a construction business, so there's a lot happening.
Yeah. There's a lot happening. I forget all the things sometimes. It's just like, honestly, people say all the time, I don't know how you do what you do. I actually, I have a color coded planner that I carry with me everywhere I go. It's on my phone. I pay for it annually, and it is like color coded. I know what color means what. And every week I strategize what's the day going to look like. So,
Yeah. So what I'm excited again for the May 3rd, 4th event, for everybody to hear you speak and for the students to see what's possible. And for everybody watching right now, like, look what can be done. You can have a life, you could travel the world, and yet have these 4 amazing children who you're involved in their lives, have this great chiropractic clinic, reach your goals as a business person, reach financial goals for your life. You have a beach house, have, things that you can purchase and enjoy throughout all of this. And so let's get kind of the punchline. We'll touch
yeah.
more on it, of course, in May, but how do you pull this off? I mean, are there multiple butlers, private jets, limos that take you everywhere? I mean, how are you doing all of this?
I wish. I wish. Well, here's what I'll say is I struggled for a really long time with the identity of a woman, and how some people will tell you a woman's place is only in the home. Some would say, nope, a woman needs to be out there earning just as much as her man. And then you have some that are like, okay, well, figure it out. And so I struggled for a really long time with the identity of how does that work for a Christian woman? Like, where do I fit in all of that? And really what God has given me over however many years is it all boils down to your support team. Because guess what? The Proverbs 31 woman She didn't do all that. Like she did all that, but she had help. So she had people, she had a team behind her to help her do what she was able to do. And so I really look at everything that I do with coaching with you. I mean, that's you're part of our Dr. John and my team, like just being able to help process and figure stuff out, whether it's entrepreneurship or our own clinic. I mean, I've got a team with all my kids' sports, I've got teams for education, but my chiropractic team, that is where it really comes down to. Like I couldn't do what I do without being able to entrust all of that to that team. I also have, I didn't even mention I have another person who is actually like a personal assistant to all of our things, all the different parts that we have moving around. She's been with us for 10 years. So, it's every person has a a role, and they all feel part of the team. And that's, when I come in May, that's what we're gonna be talking about. Like I really feel that is something that lacks in a lot of businesses, chiropractic businesses. I have been a CA and I've been an associate, and I've also owned my own clinic, and I've seen how people have treated their team over the course of years. And I feel like there's a better way. I don't have it perfect. I don't have it all figured out, but I feel like when it comes down to communication and being flexible and reward, and like making sure your team feels valued and that they are really part of the team, and that what they're a vital force to be able to do what you do and transform the lives of the people that you're caring for, that God has entrusted you with.
And I'm going to ask one question about leadership, just because you have this incredible team. I mean, so when you say team, I think that could sound kind of like a trope, but at the same time, you have a CA, in Jackie, you have an office manager in her that I think most chiropractors would murder for, to get somebody like that in their midst, or at least commit some sort of misdemeanor to get her working for them. You've got a very devoted associate in Dr. Massey, who would crawl across glass for your clinic. You have these people really bought into what you guys are doing. Now, my wife is also a chiropractor, and she's, the quarterback in our family. She's, the reason she's starting quarterback. I'm definitely, the kind of the bench guy when it comes to our family success. So, I can appreciate all it is that you're doing, but there really is an aspect to this that's very powerful. So the question is going to be around this. So I'm getting this doctorate in business. And when they study leadership, they find that actually the best CEOs are women. Where that's when people think CEO, they generally a picture of a man comes in their head. And the reason women are so much better is men tend to have, and this is something we're even coaching John through a little bit. And again, I'm a massive Dr. John fan, but as a Marine and sort of a classic male leader, it's very much this authoritarian, this is how we need to get it done. No excuses, take that hill, get to that flag. That's a typical kind of manly way of driving the people around them. But women become more what they call a transformative leader. They're actually nurturing and helping bring out the best in their people, and really care about not just the success of the business, but the success of that person. They care about that person's life. And that makes for a much better type of leadership or leadership style over time. So how would you say you are investing in your people that's creating so consistently such great participants in this? I mean, they really are part of your mission. They're not just working for you for a buck and and then signing out at the end of the day and going home and forgetting about the vision you have for your life.
Well, I think it really comes down to listening. I think you can hear a lot and you can miss a lot if you don't listen, or if you don't hear a lot if you don't listen. But you have to listen and you have to come alongside them, because there's a lot going on in each of their lives that really boil down to how they perform in the office. You can tell someone's not quite on their A game. There's something going on at home. And when you listen, you can help mentor them through that. Also, I feel like my staff wants to be heard. They want to have input. They want to say, yeah, I really like this event, or I don't like this event because of this. And they want to be validated. So I think the other thing is part of a team is not I. It's not do what I say because I'm telling you to do it. It's here, let's come alongside each other and let's do this together. Let's figure it out. I'm not above taking the trash out. I'm not above wiping down my own tables. When we come along, when we work as a team, we all have to be willing to step into each other's roles.
Wow, so powerful. And I know you'll get into more details in May, but that I knew there was something like that underneath this because I'm not there in your meetings, but I get to see just how devoted your team is to you. And that, again, something that you can't just hire that and you can't push somebody to do it. They have to want to do it. As we say in the wrestling world, when it comes to training our athletes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them thirsty. And somehow your people are thirsty. They're hungry to help and make a difference in your clinic and save lives around the world. So I appreciate you. Can't wait to hang out here in a few weeks. For everybody watching, make sure you register for this May 3rd and 4th event. Come out and meet Dr. Bri and other amazing speakers. Bless you all. And remember who you are.